Hi, this is Glory with Successful Marketing Group. Tonight, close to 6,000 youth will be homeless in this Minnesota winter, and soon it'll be 20 plus below. You can help keep these kids warm by donating whatever you can. $20 will actually buy 5 pairs of ski gloves. These kids are cold and on the streets. Please consider helping. Go to the Winter Wear Drive website to donate at wwd.care. That's wwd.care. And on Sunday, December 15th at Lush in Minneapolis, we will be hosting a winter wear drop-off event where you will get to watch the live recording of the Cheryl Reeve Show with special guest host Jana Shortle. Go to wwd.care to donate and register for the event. Thank you so very much, and happy holidays from Successful Marketing Group.
I think Cheryl Reeve's actually going to like doing this show. We have some of her favorite topics lined up. This is the Cheryl Reeve Show, part of the TalkNorth.com podcast network. Reminder, this Sunday, December 15th, 3:30 to 6:30, we're going to be doing the Cheryl Reeve Show. When I say we, I mean not me for once. Jana Shortle will be hosting Cheryl Reeve, so it's a powerhouse show at Lush, Minneapolis. That's 990 Central Avenue Northeast, Lush, Minneapolis, in Minneapolis. The winter coat drive is 3:30 to 6:30. The podcast will start about 4:20. You'll want to be there. It'll be a blast. Every time we do a live Cheryl show, they're great. And, of course, I really appreciate Jana stepping in. I know she'll do a great job with this. You can also go to wwd.care if you'd like to donate or find out any more information about the deal or get the address, whatever. Please check it out. Great cause, and I really appreciate Cheryl and Jana taking over while I'm out of town for that one. One last network note, we've just started up the Gopher Sports podcast on our network. That's with Marcus Fuller, my colleague, and Ryan James. Obviously, it's going to be heavy basketball this time of the year, but they're going to hit everything. Whalen's team, football team, I don't want to call them non-revenue sports. They bring in revenue sports, but the other sports, the other sports that should get some coverage, we're going to do it on there as well. All right, Cheryl, let's start with this. It was announced this week that you've agreed to a 3-year contract extension. Now,
yeah,
I think we already knew that, and it's been reported before, but when something gets announced, you can talk about it a little more freely. I'll just throw it to you. What does it mean to you to get that deal, and how important it was it to you to get that deal?
Well, it was probably, when I think about how the relationship has gone really from day one in terms of the first time we negotiated a contract to this one, that I've really enjoyed doing business with Roger, who was here for a long time, and Glenn. And Glenn's always been involved. Just Glenn and I are closer now that Roger's no longer with the company. So it's when I say it's easy, I don't mean to make it sound that it was easy in terms of there wasn't much thought given to what each side was doing. But I think there's just a deep level of trust that we both have in one another. And so when you have that as a base, for doing business, things can be easy. You're able to communicate what you need to communicate, and Glenn, I think, is more than fair, and we got to it pretty quickly. I really appreciated that there wasn't there was a sense of urgency on Glenn's part in terms of when he reached out. This did not drag on. This has been done. It's been agreed to for a long time, and then we finally, with all my travel, et cetera, we finally, got it to, inked and a done deal. That's why the release came out this week, that it was official.
What is the scene when you actually sign a deal like that? Is it really informal, just walk into the office and put your name on a line, or is there more ceremony to it?
No, at this point, it's really just, Glenn does business by mail, which was really cool. I waited for the contract to arrive by mail, just sign it. And it's, for me, not ceremonious. I mean, not to say that it's not a big deal. Myself, my family, we're thrilled to be able to stay and continue, to work on the legacy that we're working so hard to build here. Just pull out the pen and sign it and send it on back. Like I said, at this point, I don't know if this is my third or fourth deal that I've been able to sign, but 2 with Glenn directly. And I just appreciate how easy it is to work with. If I have something on my mind, I feel very comfortable to be able to share it and work through any challenges that might be present. And I think the same, he would feel the same on his side of things. I know my thing about contracts, whether it's a player contract, a coach contract, whenever you're going to get involved for, more than 1 year, and you're not sort of an at-will employee, I think it's important that the contract is comfortable for both sides. It's like trades. People get so focused on winning a deal that sometimes in doing that, you're actually losing. And that's what I told Glenn in our first negotiation was, I want him to like the contract that he's giving me. The same way I want to like the contract that we're offering our players, because when it gets imbalanced, then you start thinking about moving on from that contract. And I thought it was really important that, that as much as I wanted to be happy, I thought it was really important that he was happy with the deal. And so from his perspective, it's all about the business, of the Lynx and making sure, and I'm very mindful of that, making sure that, the expense side of this thing is, makes sense for him, and that we continue to be able to be a profitable entity. And that's really important to me. So I'm not out to win and get every penny I can type of thing. I think this is about making sure that both sides are comfortable with the deal. And I think we walked away with that.
You do have a national profile for all the right reasons. And we've talked about the fact that we think eventually there is going to be a female head coach in the NBA. Maybe it's Becky Hammon, but you certainly would be a top candidate if we got to that point in our history. Do you ever worry about, okay, I sign a long-term deal here, that means I'm not going to be leaving to become the head coach of the Knicks or another team?
Well, that's where you get into the relationship side of things. And so I think if an opportunity presented itself that was not in the WNBA, that's the biggest key here. That I'm under contract to be the coach of the Minnesota Lynx in the WNBA. And so I would be able to, if I communicate with Glenn, and if I said to Glenn, this is what's best for me, my family, it's something I really want to do, there's no doubt in my mind he would support me and say, go be the coach of whatever it is that you want to do. And so, there isn't, this, kind of signing, a 3-year deal in the WNBA or 5-year or 10-year, whatever it is, that you could not go and go coach somewhere else. You have to have, I do know of a situation, actually, the New York franchise had a coach years ago by the name of Patty Coyle. And Patty Coyle was in the last year of her contract with the New York Liberty and had an offer to coach at a college. She had a 5-year contract offer that was considerably more than what she was making for the New York Liberty, and communicated to the franchise that she wanted to go coach with that college team. And that franchise denied her that opportunity to do that. Not only did they do that, then they did not renew her contract at the end of that year. And so that's really poor business. And I would be very, very leery to ever do business with a franchise like that. And that was certainly the case with the New York Liberty franchise. It was one that you better be very, very careful about, what you get into over there. But that's no longer the case, as the Liberty are now owned by Joe Tsai and the Brooklyn Nets. And, but yeah, I'm confident that, who Glenn is, that I would be able to work through those situations, and he would not deny an opportunity like that.
As someone who knows people who cover the Knicks, I would not recommend you leaving for the Knicks. Now, who knows how things would change, but that has been a very poorly run franchise on a lot of levels. And I was thinking about that, and I want to ask kind of a philosophical question, because I read all about Jackie Robinson and his entry into the major leagues, how difficult it was for him, and how much was placed on his shoulders. Branch Rickey and other people in the hierarchy of baseball said, you have to be not only a pioneer, but you have to be a perfect pioneer. You have to manage it. You have to avoid getting angry. You have to take the abuse. And, one thing that we don't remind people of when it comes to Jackie Robinson Day or Jackie Robinson's legacy is that he he died as someone who did not like white people. He had been treated so badly. It's really not the sweet ending to the story that people would like it to be. He realized how badly he was treated, and he did not appreciate it. And he held his fists, he held his tongue, because he felt he had to make a path for other players of color. I'm wondering, do you think, as a women's coach, do you think the first women's coach in the NBA has to land in just the right place and behave just the right way and win just the right amount? Or do you think we've actually gotten to a point where we can say, listen, this is going to be the first woman coach in the NBA, but she doesn't have to win a championship. She doesn't have to be, all women coaches don't have to be judged by just her results in this first job.
No, I would say, Jim, I don't think we're all that far from what Jackie Robinson faced. And so I think as women move into leadership roles in men's sports, that the scrutiny, no doubt, will be intense and widespread. And when I think about just how far-reaching, whether it's blogs, different ways that the sports are analyzed, and so even more so than maybe what Jackie Robinson was exposed to, that in all corners, that no matter what move she would make, there's going to be a great deal of criticism, whether it was something she did or, whether the players aren't going to be responsible for anything. This is all going to fall on her shoulders. And, that's the sacrifice that you make as a pioneer. When I think about all marginalized groups, the difficulty in moving forward and making progress, it's not without a great deal of suffering and pain and sacrifice. And that's what makes it so meaningful, noble in history. And so I think those of us that would put ourselves in that situation understand that. Jackie Robinson understood that he needed to do these things to be able to move African Americans forward in the sport. And so many of us that are women in coach sports know that same thing exists. We hear it now just coaching women's sports. I mean, it's how we're treated. That the way that we're viewed. I mean, there's a negative connotation with not only being a woman but coaching women's sports, and so there's so much to overcome. But I think that anybody that would take that on would have to have, sort of you have to have blinders on. It's not unlike what we try to do. In that you can't look up and out, you have to stay focused, and you've got to have an inner circle. That circle of people, your support system, are all you care about, and that's why the selection of those people is really important. And it's much like I think coaches, male coaches would say this today. I mean, you try to block out all the noise. But I think in this situation, the magnitude of it would be pretty great, and. Whether it's fair or not, you can think about the number of men that are unsuccessful coaching sports. I even say that in the WNBA. When I was an assistant coach, for 10 years before I got an opportunity to coach as a head coach here in Minnesota. And for probably 5 of those years, when I really wanted to be a head coach in the WNBA, and my competition was men who had no coaching experience, men who simply played in the NBA. So former players were thought of to be far more superior than my candidacy. And the number of those coaches that came into the WNBA and were a colossal failure. The list is long. You don't hear much about that. But certainly if the situation were reversed and these are women that coach in the NBA that may have the same, I know I could coach to the level that Kurt Rambis coached in the NBA. I know it. I know. I remember walking around going, I know I can win 16 games out of 82. Like, I know I can. But that's not, we paid him $4 or $5 million a year to do that. And he's not good enough to fire him. He still gets paid, and we move on to the next coach, the next male coach. And, it's not going to be that easy for women, but obviously there's a double standard there.
The flamboyant incompetence of David Kahn really covered up the routine incompetence of Kurt Rambis during that regime. Kahn was so spectacularly incompetent and was so public with his incompetence and was so willing to call me up at night and tell me things that weren't true about basketball that even I knew as a youth coach knew weren't true. That, we didn't really